So by virtue of the numbers and trying to get through a very difficult agenda, controversial, substance-filled agenda, I think we should go ahead with the Environmental Rights Amendment. Senator Greenstein, you are the lead on this. You and Senator Bateman are co-prime sponsors. I'd appreciate it if you'd tell us about SCR 134.
Green Amendment is a recognition of the right to clean water, clean air, and a healthy environment as an inalienable, self-executing right, and makes it clear that it is the government's duty as trustee to protect the environment for its beneficiaries, the people. This right to a clean environment is as basic as life and liberty. New Jersey has a good set of environmental laws. We're one of the most advanced states on that, but it still has devastating environmental problems. Only Pennsylvania and Montana have environmental rights amendments, and only Pennsylvania has had an important major court case that used this amendment to overturn their Act 13, a law, and interestingly, a law that protected fracking and drilling in Pennsylvania and completely overlooked the environmental degradation caused by these activities. Maya Van Rossum, the Delaware Riverkeeper, has written a book called The Green Amendment. It's won several prizes, so the book is already winning awards. It's quite original and interesting, and I'd like to see New Jersey be one of the states that will advance this extremely important amendment. Thank you very much.
And let me first thank Senator Greenstein for letting me co-prime. I think this is a very important step in what's going on around the world and the latest hurricane in Florida. And if we don't get a handle on our environment in the next 20 years, the next generation is really going to pay the price. So I think more and more efforts such as the Green Amendment, I think, are so important for the future of this state. So I think it's important legislation.
Maya, we're here to listen to what you have to say.
Hi, I'm Maya Van Rossum. I'm the Delaware Riverkeeper, and I am truly pleased to be here today on behalf of New Jersey's environmental community to urge you as a committee to vote in support of SCR 134, which would advance a New Jersey Green Amendment. That's a constitutional provision placed in the Declaration of Rights section of the state constitution, which would recognize and protect as inalienable the rights of the people of New Jersey to pure water, clean air, and a healthy environment. In addition to speaking on behalf of the Delaware Riverkeeper Network, I am here representing many in the New Jersey environmental community, including the American Littoral Society, Clean Water Action, Environment New Jersey, the New Jersey Highlands Coalition, the New Jersey Sierra Club, and an additional 17 organizations. SCR 134 ensures that the right to clean water, clean air, a stable climate, and a healthy environment is given the same level of community and constitutional importance as other fundamental rights the people of New Jersey hold dear, such as the right to free speech and freedom of religion, and much more. The proposed Green Amendment will mandate that government officials focus on preventing pollution and preventing environmental degradation before simply working to permit it and manage it. The goal of the constitutional amendment is to advance better decision-making on the front end. But yes, when necessary, it will provide a backstop, allowing impacted members of our community to seek court intervention when government officials get it wrong and render decisions or take actions or pass legislation that improperly affects the environmental rights of the people. While New Jersey does have a well-developed system of environmental laws, it still has a significant number of devastating environmental problems, including communities that are drinking contaminated water, communities that are breathing air that is so dirty the American Lung Association has given it a failing grade, families that are forced to live next to highly contaminated sites, and schools located in areas with such severe pollution issues that it is impacting the health of the students, but also impacting their ability to learn. It is clear that there is, in fact, a gap in the system that would be and should be filled by this constitutional amendment. SCR 134 provides an important opportunity also to address environmental justice concerns. It ensures that environmental rights are recognized belonging to every person, and that government has a duty to act as trustee of our natural resources for the benefit of all people. As written, New Jersey's Green Amendment would ensure all government officials understand they have a constitutional duty to recognize and protect environmental rights equitably across the state and across communities, regardless of race, income, or where people live. The constitutional environmental right will provide a powerful incentive for government officials to render decisions and advance businesses in ways that accomplish economic and business objectives, while at the same time protecting water, air, soil, food, forests, wetlands, and other natural resources critical to sustaining healthy lives and economies. Given that we all depend upon clean water, clean air, and a healthy environment to support and sustain our very lives, it is right and appropriate that they should be protected with the same legal vigor and strength that we protect the other political rights, civil rights, and human rights that we hold dear. Thank you. Thank you, Senator Greenstein and Senator Bateman, and thank you, Senator Smith, for your leadership.
Maya, can you just speak to an issue that somehow having this amendment would open the floodgates to all sorts of litigation?
Yes, what we see in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is that we do not have this onslaught of frivolous litigation. It's simply not happening. In fact, there are other limitations that would prevent this onslaught of frivolous litigation, which is sort of falsely being perpetuated against this amendment. This is not the experience in Pennsylvania, as you'll hear from Jordan Yeager. So we've had now 5 years of experience in Pennsylvania, and we are just not seeing that rush to inappropriate litigation.
In 2013, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court relied on Pennsylvania's Green Amendment to strike down an onerous state law that, among other things, required every municipality in the state within 120 days to change all their zoning ordinances to allow fracking and related industrial activity in every zoning district, in every municipality, regardless of the location next to schools, hospitals, playgrounds, and residences. The Delaware Riverkeeper Network led the legal challenge to that, and I served as one of the lead counsel in the case. It marked the first time that the courts had relied on Pennsylvania's Green Amendment to declare a law unconstitutional. The courts have made it clear that the constitutional right is not intended to prevent development or prevent economic growth. It simply requires that that development, that growth, happen sustainably, and that with environmental rights given equal weight in the decision making. As is proposed by SCR 134, it's essentially important that the right to a healthy environment be included in Article 1 of the New Jersey Constitution. Article 1 recognizes our natural, inherent, and unalienable rights. While much of the Constitution grants powers from the people to government, Article 1 contains those rights that the people have reserved for themselves, rights that are protected from government interference. No government institution or government official can take any action that would violate the rights that are contained in Article 1. Placement in Article 1 ensures that the right to pure water, to clean air, and a healthy environment is legally recognized and on par with our other fundamental rights, like our rights to free speech, our due process rights, and our property rights. This placement is essential for ensuring equitable balancing of rights by legislators, by regulators, government officials, and the courts. Another essential component of the proposed Green Amendment is the trust obligation it creates, which, among other things, will instill fiduciary duties, that it understand the impacts of what's being proposed by a development project or other activity before allowing that project to move forward. It requires fact-based, science-based considerations, including considerations of cumulative impacts and the impacts on future generations. The trust obligation will instill environmental justice considerations, mandating that government decision makers treat all beneficiaries equitably without sacrificing the rights of one person or one community for the benefit of another. As framed, the proposed Green Amendment will focus government decision-making on preventing degradation of the environment in the first place. Just like if government takes action that would deny someone their free speech rights or their property rights, if government takes action that would deny people their environmental rights, the people would have the ability to challenge that action in court. The terms used in the Green Amendment, pure water, clean air, ecologically healthy habitats, are comparable to the terms used in other provisions in the New Jersey Declaration of Rights, as well as in our federal Constitution and in constitutions around our nation. While terms such as right to a speedy trial and right to freely assemble might seem vague and subjective, the courts are well equipped to interpret and apply them when disputes arise. Clean water, clean air, and a healthy environment are essential for human existence, allowing people to exercise all their other rights. It's appropriate that New Jersey is seeking to protect a healthy environment as a basic right entitled to the highest level of recognition and protection. Thank you.
Janine Bauer, I'm an environmental attorney. I've been in private practice since 1984, practicing environmental law. And I think the major thing that I want to talk about with respect to the Bill of Rights Amendment is that it would correct a lot of the errors that have occurred. I think you all know that New Jersey's been an environmental leader in terms of legislation for a long time. One of the things that happened when those landmark pieces of legislation were passed, the Environmental Rights Act, the Spill Act, is that in interpreting, when cases obviously came up, in order to remedy pollution and to find justice for people whose properties were polluted and whose lives were changed because of exposure to pollution, the Superior Court in a number of instances started retracting the rights that were really established by those pieces of legislation, so that right now we really saw a retrenchment of what the legislature intended all along by those acts that were passed in the 70s and 80s and even in the 90s, such that it's become kind of like threading a needle in order to get justice in cases of pollution, whether that's economic justice or personal injury justice or whatever it is. And that's really been quite obvious throughout my own practice. I mean, I have a case, for instance, right now in Superior Court in Bergen County where we're actually arguing, and experts, including people who have been engineers and hydrologists and so on and so forth, are arguing about what is a reportable discharge under the case law, who had an obligation to report a discharge, which obviously was above the EP standard, including for toxic carcinogenic chemicals. I mean, the concept that 40 years later we're talking about and debating what's a reportable discharge and who has an obligation to discharge, and much more importantly, who has an obligation to clean up, is really absurd. And so we desperately need this amendment to protect individuals in the Bill of Rights and to explain to the Superior Court that when the legislature makes the laws, they really mean what they say, and that the Superior Court should not be finding ways to get around what the legislature intends.